Paris was where I came when I first left home. I'm going to meet a lot of different people and ask them how they feel about what migration is, how they've made their success stories in this country, the country that I've always found to be a place of opportunity. Hi, I am just about to meet Marcio. He's a Brazilian man who grew up in England and then opened his own business in France. But at the time of moving, he didn't speak French. Let's see how he did it. Hi Marcio, it's really nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, Charlotte.
One of the cool things about meeting you is that it seems like you are a slasher in technologies, i.e. you have set up your own company. You're also in a position whereby you mentor other startup companies. This week you're here doing the hackathon.
Yeah, I'm mentoring students around building startups and building their own projects.
And you were one of the founders of Cabby.
Yeah.
And so, like, where did this journey begin? Because you were originally from Brazil, is that right?
Yeah. I lived there until I was 12 and a half.
And then you moved to Oxford.
I moved to the UK, to Oxford, yeah. Moving to another country meant that most of the things I took for granted, in terms of how things should be, how food should be, how people should be, all of a sudden they were completely, let's say, all my prejudices were all broken apart by, oh, okay, whatever I thought was amazing and the truth, it's completely bullshit in this country. So, and it all started there.
And then after that, you moved to France.
Yeah.
So that's another huge culture change.
Yeah. I don't necessarily have a preference for any country. It's much more about the people in that country and about how my life is at that time. When I lived in Brazil, I was very geeky, I was very studious. England is obviously a very different culture. All of a sudden, I could go out and play on the street and my parents wouldn't freak out that I might be robbed or kidnapped or whatever. Not that it was necessarily a risk in Brazil, but you always worry. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I had all this freedom. The kids from my street in the UK, when I arrived there, I was welcomed with open arms. That showed me, oh shit, life can be fun as well. And
it taught you that identity is not necessarily wrapped up in any one thing that you thought.
Exactly, and it's not wrapped up around this specific geographic point where you're born. Mm-hmm. It's much more about...
but you don't know that until you leave.
Exactly.
And what age were you roughly when you moved to France?
I had just turned 18. I didn't speak French when I arrived, so there was a bit of a problem when you're trying to get a job in France. I had a good friend from Oxford that lived here. She introduced me to all these amazing people. Two of them became my best friends. We loved talking to each other and they didn't speak English or Portuguese.
So you had to find a way of communicating.
Yeah.
How were you able to set up a company? I mean, was there support from the government? Was there support from
there was some
people
support
complain about the bureaucracy.
To be honest, we bought a book, how to start your own LTD or SRL.
Wow!
I read through it, barely, through whatever. Thankfully, through Portuguese, I can kind of understand quite a bit. And then the government also provided some help. It was at the time when they were centralizing all the different centers for the companies. And since then, you know, it's not just that when I arrived, it was great, and then they facilitated a lot of things. Certain things have been difficult. I'm not going to pretend everything has been a walk in the park. But at the crucial moments when we nearly went bankrupt 7 years ago, the government basically stepped in, put us on bankruptcy protection, froze all our debts, and basically gave us breathing space to actually reorganize the company, get going again, and then they let us out of the floodgates again, and we were able to actually continue the company and pay the debt and keep going.
That's incredible. That really is incredible.
Yeah.
So for you, you found France to be a very supportive country. You found it to be...
Absolutely. Coming to a country where people value living well, part of living well is not just having a great car, having a great house or all these other pleasures. I think is also having stability. What's
interesting is that you have come having a very diverse background, and you were able to go from Brazil to England, and your working life really kind of ended up being in France. Where does success come from for you?
I think success is a lot about luck and hard work. Luck, and when I say luck, is not walking in and getting the perfect job. It's I could pretend that I'm, it's not about thinking that I'm more or less intelligent or more or less educated. When you come as a migrant, it really depends how you come as a migrant. There's so many successful foreigners living in France, but then there will also be people that not only come from poorer backgrounds, without the education, without the, they might be discriminated for loads of different reasons.
Yeah.
And then when you arrive and you have to deal with the normal difficulties, the already really complicated things that life has to throw at you.
Yeah.
But then you have all these extra barriers that you have to overcome.
Yeah.
Then it makes it much harder.
Yeah.
France does provide support. It really does depend a lot on your situation, whether you come from a country that France might have a more natural prejudice towards, but it will be the same everywhere. It really depends, if as a Latino, I might, depending on where I am in the US, I might have more prejudice. If I look more Indian, I might have more prejudice, or Pakistani, I might have more prejudice in the UK, because that's the minority that tends to be more discriminated over there. And it might be the same because I look a bit Arabic, that I might get a little bit. But all of that is about education on both sides. Once people realize that, whether you're Arabic, Indian, or whatever, it's no different from being French, German, Brazilian, or whatever, then it really doesn't matter. And then it's getting those people that come from a difficult background to have the support they need, so that even though, because they started from behind the line, that you might need them to give an extra boost so that they can actually reach the end line, at the same level as everyone else.
It's amazing. Well, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you
Really
for your time.
appreciate it.
Thank you for asking me a lot of very interesting questions.